Ms. Watts, would you offer the
Please bow with me. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for all that you do for us. Watch over everybody as they travel. Watch over those that are overseas fighting for our freedom. Watch over the folks here that serve us every day in our Cherokee communities, and watch over those who are sick and ill at this time, that they may recover fully to have a good life. Please be with each of us as we make decisions important to the Cherokee people, and I thank you for all that you do. Amen.
Next we have roll call.
Julia Coates.
Here.
Tom Garvin. Jewel Anglin.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Bozer.
Here.
Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
China Glory Jordan. Curtis Snell. Chris Suck.
Here.
David Thornton. Tara Callan Watts.
Oh, honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 17th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have our reports, and from Career Services, we have Diane Kelly, first of all.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I just wanted to remind everybody that I had given out copies of our summer youth employment, and I told you that at the Education Committee that I would answer any questions that you had regarding any of the tables or anything. And I've got extra copies if anybody needs them. We are submitting a budget. It went through yesterday, and it will be on the Executive and Finance for the additional summer youth SBC funding. We don't have any slot allocations as of yet because we're not really sure how much of our economic stimulus we're going to get. That was also another budget that was presented last night. So we'll be working up the formulas by county after we get approval on that allocation as well as the other. And then we'll get those out to everybody. But we're going to do it by county so that way we don't overshoot a specific county. We're launching a grant.
I'm sorry, there was a question.
Okay.
And my question was to the youth summer program. So how will it be handled, like in Rogers County or the other northern counties? We will have youth programs, and then will we have the over income program again through tribal funds?
Yes, you will.
Okay.
That when we gave out the handouts in our policies, there was several tables, and I've kind of explained this to some of you all individually. The reason I put several tables in there is an example. If you get up in the northern counties, sometimes the poverty income guidelines, they're too low for some of the kids to apply. And if we have, say in Rogers County, say we have 50 applications and we've got maybe only 25 slots. What we're going to do is we're going to look at table 1 on that policy, and we're going to fill it with as many kids as we can on table 1. And we'll go to table 2, table 3. We may go up into Chuck's area, and he may not have anybody that fits in table 1, and it may go up to table 3, table 4. But the reason that we're showing you that is because in some of the counties last year, there was some kids that parents make like 120 or 130 something thousand. Then you've got kids sitting down here in some of these other counties, and some of them were on welfare, and they didn't hardly have any money at all compared to some of the others. So we know that in probably 5 counties, the majority of the kids are probably going to qualify for that low income program, but we're going to put some of the higher income slots there. But we did it in tables so that you know that we're looking at those in that first table first before we get into the higher bracket, because those kids deserve the services before somebody that's sitting over here that's mom or dad could actually probably find them a job. So that's why we put the tables in there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Any other questions? We are launching a green initiative. That was the other thing. I was in Washington last week, and with the Obama administration, they're looking at the Green Initiative. That's one of his initiatives. And Job Corps is one of those programs that they are wanting us to do a lot of green initiatives. They want every Job Corps, there's 122 of us, they want every one of our Job Corps centers to have a green initiative. So this morning we kicked off our green initiative over at Job Corps in an assembly over there, and we're going to have a green initiative mascot that will be part of our parades when we go places. All of our kids are going to be doing a green initiative fair over there, and in October we will be in Washington, D.C. for the anniversary of Job Corps. President Lyndon Johnson signed the bill to enact Job Corps centers nationally in October of 1969. And the Lyndon Johnson Library is going to be celebrating with us in Washington in October. We'll be getting information. I hope some of y'all can go up there for that event, because we're having a meeting with the Secretary of Labor and the National Job Corps, and all the Job Corps are asking to bring students in for oratory competition, as well as I think they're going to be building a big, huge cake. Culinary is, and it's going to be there at the Senate and the House. And President Obama is going to be declaring it Job Corps Day nationally, and they hope to have George Foreman there because he's a former Job Corps graduate. So they've got several things planned, and I hope some of y'all can go up there with us to celebrate the anniversary of Job Corps in October in Washington, D.C. Any other questions?
Diane, I was just reading your report here.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to take, some of your staff are going to tour the Central Tech and Drumline. Is there something special on there that we're going to be looking at?
The staff have already toured. Our vocational staff, Brenda Fitzgerald and some of her vocational counselors, toured Drumright. And the reason we toured Drumright is because there's a couple of truck driving schools that have been approaching us to send people to their schools, and their tuition is almost double the amount of what it would be if you run them through the one at Drumright, which is a state VOTEC center that's been there for a number of years. And we toured the Drumright Center because we can get students in there at a cheaper rate. Although they've got to go and live there, it's cheaper for us to put them in that program. And the placement rating is probably better because it's a state VOTEC school.
And how long, follow-up, but how long do the courses last there, do you know?
I think it's 6 weeks.
And then another question, Diane, is, are we still looking at one over here?
We are still looking at one over here. The Secretary of Labor put a lot of money into Arkansas, into the trucking, and there's a lady by the name of Diane Peters that's coming to work with us over at Job Corps, and she and her company have also got a linkage with the trucking mega over in Arkansas, and we're going over there to meet with some of those schools over there because they said that they could help place those people once they graduated. And they've got a school that they're wanting us to look at, which is out of state, but they guaranteed placements for everybody that went through it. So we're going to look at that one in Arkansas as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Hopkins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you refresh my memory about the Ross program? I see you've got some community meetings in your report, and I think I was one of your new initiatives.
The Ross program was not refunded last year. We're operating on carryover funds. It's a residential opportunity assistance program. It's to provide vocational training and job assistance for those people who are living in our mutual help housing as well as our low rent projects.
This is just an outreach meetings? Is what
Yes,
these are.
that's what it is. They're providing some life skills classes for those people in the housing units.
Thank you.
Ms. Watson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, because I've always gotten good feedback on that program from constituents. So we are committed to continuing funding it through tribal funds, or to be completely cut, or what's the deal?
We submitted a grant. You can run it simultaneously, and we submitted a grant for the last 2 years, and HUD lost ours the first year. So we submitted it by electronic the second year, and the second year they didn't get all of the package. So we have been in contact. In fact, where's Melanie? Melanie Dodge is probably their worst nightmare. She's been on the phone to HUD just about every week, and they know her name, and they act like they know her by first name basis. But she's been on their list to call. We submitted our Ross grant back in the fall, and we should know something at the end of April, the first part of May, whether or not we'll get the funding. I think it's for about $700-something.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Executive Director's Report. Rita Bunch.
Dr. Moore's out of office today, so he asked me to stand in for him. I think you have all of our reports if you have any questions.
I'm probably going to next month bring forward a resolution that requires on our tribally funded programs like immersion and stuff that they have tribal citizenship. So I just wanted to forewarn education that would be coming forward.
Mr. Hoskins?
On the directed studies program, could you just kind of walk me through what happens and who handles it when you have to, when there's a breach of the agreement, you have to collect the funds, and kind of, if you can, speak to how successful that effort's been? Because it sounds like you've had to do it to some extent.
We are still developing that process. We are reviewing, it's in Lisa's report. We have a student who has breached the contract, and so we're developing the repayment plan, and we haven't completely defined how that process will work yet, but we are working on it.
So there's
And
only
the
been
student
one
does
so
not,
far?
yes.
Okay.
And a second one possibly. That's definitely one. Definitely.
Thank you.
So we're working on that process.
Mr. Garvin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're having a little trouble with Northeastern getting the money for the scholarships given on Cherokee Nation scholarships. Is there some reason why they're late this year?
Another particular student we checked on, and it's been processed. The uploads have started, and waiting on a new process and trying to define. We have been reviewing the whole scholarship process, and we're looking at some options to hopefully streamline it, make it more readily available, accessible. And so in those processes and the application process, the uploads were slower. But we are doing those now, and Northeastern will probably only take about a week to turn those around. Now, if other colleges are involved, I am aware that some colleges take even longer once they receive our money, then it takes them longer.
I know Northeastern's putting a penalty on them for being late, and does the other schools do the same thing?
Yes, most of them do. Most of them do it as a penalty. And it's unfortunate that our funds would be late, because if that is the only source of funding that student has, then yes, they are assessed with penalties.
The student has to pay the penalty?
I'm not sure at Northeastern, isn't it? I haven't checked on the last one, but I don't think it's more than like $20. It depends on how late. You know, they have payment plans.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, this is more of a comment than a question. Down under Learn and Serve, it mentions accomplishments in Briggs Elementary, and I just wanted to point, I went to this program that they had, and it was one of the neatest programs I've ever seen. There was 20-some kids that elders came in and showed them how to quill, and they actually took pieces of cloth and drew their own family history on these pieces of cloth. Then they sewed them together, and then they had them, I guess, quilted. And then they brought the elders, the community in, and fed them a dinner, and presented these elders with these blankets. And I mean, it was neat. And some of the elders were trading blankets because they got one that wasn't their grandkids, and their grandkid had the family history that they'd given to another. And it was just a really, really neat project and program that if we could do it all over 14, it'd just be fantastic. But I don't think, I mean, that's a Learn and Serve that's a school-based one. So I don't know that they're doing it every place, but if they aren't, they ought to.
Now, we do have the competitive Learn and Serve opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and Donna, has awarded additional schools this year.
And, but, if that idea could be passed on to some of these other schools, because the elders just, I mean, you'd thought you'd give them $1 million when they presented those quilts. and that were made from kids right there in their community, and I think it'll be a treasure, a cherished treasure for those elders.
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Buzzard?
Rita, back to the Director Stage program.
Yes.
How many people do we have in the program now? And do we have any projections for the 09?
Friday was the deadline for the summer applications. I didn't visit with Lisa this morning about how many were turned in. A team of people will interview those candidates, and then a decision will be made on those that are funded, because we do accept those students fall, spring, and summer. And currently, with the default, we only have 7 students, I believe.
And then I take the nurses program is not one of those programs.
No.
It's super different. Thank you.
No, we do have the RN program.
The RN program.
Yes, it's run similar to directed studies, and Nita Wilson takes care of most of that paperwork.
So the RN program is it? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes, I got an email. Well, I'm going to read this email to you. It's from a mother, and she's got a student at NSU and one at OU, and it's addressed in the late penalties. And it said by the time the payment's processed, the late fee will be $60. It's $20 a month. It was $40 last month. In the middle of the month is when they add more. So it's already up to $60 for each of our students up at NSU. And she's checking with her son to see how much it is at OU right now.
Okay.
How much fees we got going up to NSU on scholarship?
Last semester, we had 2,200. 2,200 funded by higher ed. At Northeastern, there's probably about a third of our students go attend Northeastern. 600 to 800, yeah. And see, those uploads are done as students bring in their paperwork. So we have some that already had received their funding. So I don't know exactly how many students the late fees apply to in this case.
NSU owes us a thank you.
Yeah. So they do have some of our funds. Yeah.
Ms. Fulbright?
At one of the previous meetings, Dr. Morton said that they were going to restructure the scholarship program. It was going to be open enrollment with no deadlines. And when I've talked to some of our school counselors, they said they've been in contact with higher ed office, and they said it's the same deadline, nothing has changed. Are things changing, yes or no?
We're still working on that process, yes. Now, we haven't done an open-ended enrollment yet because of the funding cycles. We're still working on that avenue, but we are funding students as they come in this semester. We haven't turned anybody down. So we're trying to meet that without putting that in a structured ruling yet until we can figure out how it's going to fit into the funding process.
Thank you.
Dr. Cobb?
I'm looking at mostly under the education, the animation section here. How is that going with Apple? I mean, as far as deadlines, is it just kind of a long IT process, or are there anything coming around here in the next few months, or are we still just...
That is a roller coaster ride, because that is a wonderful opportunity, and Apple is on board completely. We've faced some technical issues with internet access ability, but once the gates open, it will just explode. I talked to one of the animation staff today, and we have invited next week when we have the education summit. Our guest speaker at noon is the education director in the Apple Corporation, and she is coming to do the presentation at noon, and I hope all of you attend, because we want to mirror what she had to say to us when we went to Apple. So I hope that she does some of the same speech when she's here. We want to open the doors, because that's a great, I mean, that program, working with Apple is an eye-opener, and they are contributing everything free of charge. I mean, they're doing it.
Is this the first, if I may, is this the first don't want to say tribal, but other than Spanish, English, French, Chinese, is this really the first they've worked
Yes,
with? Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
that's, the excitement's coming from.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
And I hope you come and get a chance to meet her and ask some direct questions to her. But yes, our young men work on it, and it's a roller coaster ride. One day they're up, and it's like, we made a breakthrough. You know, we're going to have it up and going. We'll have iChat, we'll have iPhones, we'll have our social networking site, and then the system will be down. Then they get, you know, then they resolve that issue, and then they're back up, and they're like, oh, it's happening today. So we, you know, it's accessibility.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jordan?
Rita, would you have Dr. Morton, or ask Dr. Morton, if he will provide us with a breakdown of when the scholarships are being paid, monthly, how many has been paid to Northeastern, and let's calculate the loss, because if it's 700 scholarships and we were losing $60 per, that's $42,000 in scholarship money that those kids won't have benefit of. And I just want to know whether it's a systematic problem or what's going on so that we can get that fixed. That glitch is we need to plug that and stop that, because that $42,000 won't be used by our students.
I know it doesn't impact all of our students, but we'll find out how many it did impact. I will investigate and see. I know as of March 13th upload, we had about half of what we awarded last year. And, you know, those checks would have been issued prior to that 13th, some of them. But as of that date, there were about half of them issued. So, you know, if they started assessing late fees in February, is that what your email said? So,
January.
So we've got
So when they
January,
pay
February, and
January.
March for at least half of them.
all right, we'll investigate and see how many students it impacted.
And if you would provide that to us, you know, within the next week or so, if that's possible.
Are there other questions? Ms. Watson?
On the, did we ask, there was a question, but I didn't think it was this question, on the directed studies program for nursing and stuff. It seems to show, and I've asked this question before, but I get feedback from the community, but not enough to come with the specific, is that people have been turned away, but I was told that we haven't turned anybody away. So we still have funding slots available.
To my knowledge, we've never turned a nursing student away.
So if they come, they would,
Yes.
whether it's LPN or RN?
RN, we're RN students.
Okay.
LPN would be career services.
Okay. So the LPN program, like even down there in Janelle's area, Carl Albert, that would then be career services. Okay. Thank you.
That's good? Is that it? Thank you. Next we have Head Start.
Good afternoon. Are there any questions for me from my written report? Thank you.
Or Ms. Jordan?
Okay. When is the next meeting? Do you know yet?
April, I'll get back to you. It's in April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just email me. I missed the last one. I hate missing the meeting.
It's really good.
It's in April. Thank you.
Thank you. From JOM, Dr. Butler Allen.
Good afternoon, everyone. You have my report. And are there any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple of just comments. I've talked to several of the students that attend the Cherokee Challenge Bowl, and the feedback was that it ran real smooth this year, and there was a lot of talk about there were some first timers that were from the prior area anyway, and they were really impressed and appreciated the competition, and so hopefully they'll be returning. Got two questions about the report. One is about the the grant applications approved. Is that, by this time, I know I've had experience with budget mods and approvals and things like that in the past. Is the fact that by this time, all of them have been approved, is that, got 2 exclamation points there, is that something that is getting better, or?
Well, actually, it's finally they're approved.
Right.
There were about 5 or 6 of them hanging out there where we had to work with the schools
Right,
in order to be able to get that. And so we're going, because we were, in my previous reports, we were saying, okay, out of 71 schools, there are 63 that have been approved. And that was like in December.
Right.
And so finally,
Okay.
they're all approved.
Then the other is, we've got the JOM monitoring here.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
explain that to me a little bit?
The field specialists are responsible for monitoring each of their schools that they're responsible for.
Okay.
However, in certain years, they can't get to all of the schools, so we will attempt to do 50% of our schools in monitoring. That's where they speak, and they do an overall evaluation, and they speak with the parent committee, the administrators, the JOM contact, and everyone associated with it. And you were asking me about you were making a comment about the competitions. We had 445 students that placed in our Cherokee cultural competitions, and so we will be having a huge awards banquet. I just opened this up. A huge awards banquet in May for those participants and winners, and we will be giving out well over $15,000 in place winner monies, first, second, and third place winner monies. So, real excited about that.
Mr. Buzzard?
Shelley, you probably have been relayed the message that I had some people that were really happy about they were happy to be in a challenge bowl, but they were competing against the same teams from each school. And they didn't think it was fair, because what they told me, if we were going to compete against each other, we could just done it in our school. But when they got down here, they were competing against the same school. And
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix that.
I don't either, because what we had to do, we had to take a look at the number of years of Challenge Bowl experience that these students were going into. And so we divided them up between those that were beginners, which had 0 to maybe 2 years of experience, intermediate, if we had 3 rooms going, competition rooms going, intermediate and advanced. Now, if there were only 2 competition rooms going, which meant, a smaller number of teams competing that particular day in that particular division, we broke them up into beginner, intermediate to advanced. So those teams that competed against one another, the ones that were really concerned, and we're very aware of that, is that, they have 7, 8, 9 years of experience, and we'll just have to get back to the drawing board and rethink how can we better place these teams without them having to compete against one another. But this year we chose to place them in an advanced category or in a beginning category.
And Paul, and the comment I had when I told them that is, some of the advanced teams had some of the beginners that this is their first year of competition. That had we have known that before we come down here, we would have put all of our advanced team on an advanced team and put them together. So that's something to think about.
Good, yeah, that's very good, because that should be done in training, that sponsorship training. So, and we do that at the very beginning of the year for our cultural competitions to alert all the sponsors in the schools or coordinators that, to make sure that when you submit your teams that they have like years of experience.
Yes, that's what they were saying, and I know some of those teams that you have now, that they're really competitive, and
oh my gosh,
some
are
of the
they?
sponsors that are really, they want to see their teams do well. So anyway, I thought you'd handle the best you could this year. So
thank you.
I just wanted to bring that.
We'll do better next year.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions?
Green. If you're going to attend, once again, it's a competition between the tribes, or among the tribes. Just say yes, no, write your name, and then submit it to Gail. I think that that'd be the easiest and quickest way to do this in responding, because we do have to have somewhat of a head count that night during the banquet. That's next Wednesday which is the same day as our Ed Summit. Well, thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we have Sequoia. Ms. Stanley?
Good afternoon. You have my report. Anybody have any questions? Easy group, I like that. I would like to make a real quick announcement, just a little feather in our cap. The last 2 years we've had 2 young men that have gone on to the U.S. military academies. One last year, which was our first, that's going to West Point. This year we have one that's going to Air Force. And we have our first young lady this year that's a finalist. So she goes to the summer programs, and hopefully we'll have an appointment by the end of the school year. And she's right now been accepted into Air Force, and then just got her appointment this weekend for the U.S. Naval Academy. So we're excited about that. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garvin?
Just a comment. I'm very impressed with the work Sequoia is doing for our young people. There's a lot of work being involved there, and I think last night it was announced there were 7 Gates Scholarship students. Now that takes a lot of work, a lot of time and effort on the parents, students, and teachers and faculty. I want to congratulate them, and I'd like to make a motion that the council sends a letter of appreciation to those faculty and staff and superintendent and everybody involved. Just a tremendous effort on everybody's part. So I make a motion that we send this letter.
A motion and a
Letter of
second.
appreciation from the council.
Well, I appreciate that very much. Last year we were we tied with 2 other schools to have the top number of Gates Scholars in the nation, and it's a big deal. Right now we've got 12 finalists, so we're up. We're finding out more and more each day, so we're doing good. We're excited. Thank you very much.
Do we have any discussion on this motion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good, thank you. I don't see Dr. Sly here, do I, today?
She's out.
Okay.
Cherokee last week.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, I'm sorry, thank you. So we will move on, and we have cultural tourism, and I see, is it Molly or? Okay, Molly Jarvis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If there are no questions about the report, I've got a couple areas I would like to highlight within the report.
Are there questions? Okay.
Just a couple things to hit on. We do have information in there on the economic impact providing to the communities, and our operations report includes our construction status for several of our projects. Wanted to mention that our education tours are starting again, March through May. We currently have 1,600 students enrolled to go through those tours, similar to the ones we did last fall. For our marketing and sales efforts for our cultural tourism, we've really kicked that off to the general public at this point, and have included in your packet a couple of press releases that were sent out that were picked up internationally and nationally from the Canadian press, Yahoo Travel, and Expedia, and those should be in your packet if you have any questions about those. So we are aggressively accepting outside sales information and calls, and taking those and booking our tours. We continue to be the #1 most requested brochure from the state's tourism department, and our sales team attended 2 shows where we made over 100 contacts, so really getting out there and spreading that word. We have a partnership with OU on a grant program to provide some tourism directional signs, and those will be in downtown Tahlequah and around the area, and then working with Cherokee Nation on the Art of Living event in Tahlequah. You see some figures there for our PR equivalency, so all of the information that we've had in press releases is an equivalent of about $158,000 of advertising expense. And you see at the bottom of the second page some of the shows we've been on. Discover Oklahoma, and Talisha Nichols, our senior manager, spoke to a Leadership Oklahoma forum, and also spoke this morning on television in Tulsa on Channel 6 about our cultural tourism program. And we are beginning a merchant partner training program, and with your permission, Madam Chair, I would like to pass out a few things. I have our new business cards, a rack card, the merchant training brochure, and our sales one sheet that we provide when we go to trade shows. With your permission?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any questions about all of that?
Mr. Buzzard, all to you.
Molly, have you started doing research or data on where the people are coming from that are taking the tours yet? Have you done it?
It's really a broad spectrum. Of course, we want to grow large and focus on the international customer, but we're marketing locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally.
So it's just a mixture of all right
It
now.
really is. Yeah, as we grow and get more and more tours, we'll have some better idea exactly what the breakdown is and percentages where everyone is coming from. But right now, we're really broadcasting a wide net.
And I have a follow-up, but maybe, I'll just ask you about the Sling Courthouse. Do you know where that is, where the progress? I thought we put the spring back together and they were looking at the door, but I hadn't been over to actually look at it.
I think we've completed our stabilization efforts for now.
And actually, we've sent the structural engineer back out to the property. They did assess it and say that there were some issues as far as the chimneys. They went back out last week and said that the structure itself was not in any critical danger of falling, but they are putting together a report to address the chimneys so that we don't lose those. The spring house is actually a project that the Scene Preservation Association is working on. It's moving forward a little slower than anticipated. They've been interrupted by a few construction issues. And I recently met with the SPA and Chief Smith and some other folks to address what the next step is for that property in regards to what the SPA is looking for with some of the funding that they have available and how we can pull those efforts together between us, the Cherokee Nation, and the SPA. So it's moving forward.
And then one more question is I know we had an issue with the roads going down there before, and I don't know where that is, whether it got on the Cherokee Nation, our inventory or not. Do you have any?
As far as I know, it is. That's the last I've heard. We have a meeting with the Cherokee Nation Resource Management, Natural Resources Group every week, and yes, it is. Actually, the Ross School and Ross Cemetery Road was a higher priority based on what the information we were given. That one is soon to be worked on, the way I understand, but it is on the list. We just don't know. We don't have a date yet as to when Saline could be addressed.
And I know we just talked about the stimulus stuff on the roads issue, so I'll pass that on to see if it's going to be done. We just got a list, so it wasn't on there.
And are you, Councilman, are you talking about the road that actually leads to Saline or the road that goes over the bridge on the property?
No, the road goes to the Sling Courthouse.
Okay, then yeah, we probably need to, and was your list was from Cherokee Nation?
Yes, and it wasn't on there.
Okay, then we need to address it again, then yeah, sure, I can check into that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And you also received an electronic copy of our community information brochure. And the last thing I wanted to mention is we have been working with Cherokee Nation's Commerce Department with Anna Knight's group and Donna Tenen on a breakdown of our roles and responsibilities and the Commerce Department's roles and responsibilities. And we hope to share that with you soon electronically so everybody can be clear on that.
Mr. Baker?
Yes. 2 to 3 months ago, I had talked to Cultural Tourism about a tour to the east.
Yes.
For the Joint Council.
Right.
Because at the time I had 2 or 3 organizations ask me about sponsoring a bus trip, which the Cherokee Heritage Center did 25 years ago. So there was a lot of interest in people going on the bus. So I thought it would be a slam dunk for cultural tourism because they're supposed to be the ones in charge of these tours. Plus, eventually, they're supposed to be conducting tours to the east, is my understanding, and visiting some of the sites.
Yes, in further phases.
So after a couple of months, I received a note that y'all were not going to do the tours because you didn't have the capability. So I have real concerns about your staff not being able to put together a simple tour.
Well, and I'll address that. We had talked extensively, and the staff did put together a plan for the tour. And as we talked to our executive management team, it was determined that that was not the core competency at this time in the phase. We have our phase plans really focusing on downtown Tahlequah at this time. and the resources that were going to be dedicated to that tour and developing it, where we're not into those future phases yet of, we really need to focus on the core at this point before we spread out. And it was determined by our executive management team that we did not want to extend our resources into future phases yet until we have the first one complete.
Okay, but part of the problem was, it took 2 months for you to get back to us, and at that point, it was too late for anyone else to put together a tour.
Okay.
And I could have done the tour in one day. I could have put one together easily.
Okay.
So I am very concerned about your staff not being able to do it. Thank you.
Are there other questions? Mr. Eglin?
Yeah, and just to follow up on Jack's, we missed the boat on this because it may be another 25 years before this historical meeting ever comes about again. So I'm just like Councilman Baker, it's a shame that we missed this 25-year reunion that we're getting ready to have. And we've had a lot of people at all the community meetings that have shown interest in taking the tour down. So.
And I'll take that back and explain that, and perhaps as an executive management team as a whole, maybe we didn't put the importance on it that we should have, so I will definitely take that back.
Mr. Garvin?
Just to follow up, it's 30 days away, and Jack can do it in one day. It looks like maybe CNA could get us together. I wouldn't give up on it. I think it could still be done.
Well, yeah. But I think at this date, it's too late to advertise it, to get the people to go.
We'll certainly extend all efforts if that's the direction we decide to go.
All right, thank you, Bill. Moving on to old business, there is none, and then we move to new business where we have a presentation. Dr. Bunch, are you going to make the presentation? Okay.
The last committee meeting, there were some questions about the Cherokee Scholars Program. We have a flyer. It's not ready for distribution, but I do want to give it to you today as a talking point, because we are revising and tweaking some of the information that will be passed out to the school districts. But I will pass it down. We have, and I hope it was sent to all of you, an update on the Cherokee Scholars. If not, I'll go back and do that. We have signed the final contract with Terry Nyko, and she is the representative from Oklahoma Scholars. And our Cherokee Scholars Program will be a cooperative effort with Oklahoma Scholars. And so we are working with her to pilot a full-blown program in 6 different school districts. And at the same time, we are working with our media specialists, our web applications contact, and IS to develop a web-based application. But in the meantime, we are going to advertise with our own web page. We are developing it now, and we will submit information out to the schools via the web. And we have determined that we would be able to serve students if they were eligible and if they met all the eligibility guidelines, that we would still be able to sponsor them and recognize them, because it's a recognition program basically. And then at the end, if they do complete and meet all the eligibility requirements, there's an additional scholarship available to them of $200 a semester for 8 semesters. And we designed a medallion when we first started, a Sequoia medallion, but we are looking into it and seeing if we can't do some cost savings there. But we do expect to try to grandfather in any students who meet all the eligibility criteria. We are phasing it in with those 6 school districts, but we're making it open to any student that lives within the jurisdictional area. And at some point, if we're successful, I could see how we could open it up to students even that live within Oklahoma, because we are mirroring Oklahoma Scholars. And then eventually, somewhere down the road, I could envision it being a really broad-based, eligible to all Cherokee students who would, mainly we are recognizing them for completing a rigorous study. But if you want to look at the brochure, rather than going into detail and reading it to you, if you have questions, it might be easier to address it that way.
Dr. Collins, you have a question?
A couple things. Is this set in stone already, or is this, if you already developed, just the whole thing, is this curriculum basically been set?
Yes, the curriculum was not set by us. For us to be able to mirror and to link with the Oklahoma Scholars Program, they set the curriculum standards.
Well, one of my questions is that I'm looking at on the first page, and it says essentially provide opportunities for Cherokee language and lifeways philosophy to be used formally and informally. I'm curious, did in the discussions on this, did anyone consider having Cherokee Nation, the Cherokee history course on this?
Whenever we did have discussions about even, matter of fact, one of the bonuses to the school districts will be that they will receive our history course, the one that the Learn and Serve program put together as a social studies curriculum guide. Now but we didn't require it. No, and the reason we didn't require it is because for school districts with the economic downturn especially, it's hard to require a school district to add any subject area. I mean, because they have to add a teacher, they have to decide, figure it out, even if it's just 1/7. Plus their certification requirements. That's something that if you notice, I think we put recommended on.
I saw that.
Yeah. And so we are going to work toward it, but right now it's just something that we just didn't feel like the schools would be able to handle.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hoskins?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What were the 6 districts again? Did you say there were 6 districts? Is that on our brochure?
I will pull those for you. We're including Sequoia. And the 6 districts are Grove, Pryor, Westville, Jay, Claremore, and then of course Sequoia. We have made contact with Westville, Jay, Pryor, and Sequoia. Initial contact. And those aren't set in stone because some of those they still have to commit. We've had initial discussions, but nothing contractual yet.
In terms of funding it, I mean, if we sat down and said, okay, there's X number of students we want to fund, so these are some representative districts.
Oh, yeah, you mean in trying to determine where those districts...
Right, I mean, we're limiting it to 6, and I assume that's a byproduct of the cost we want to contain.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yes, and then we've had some success in starting on a smaller scale and then becoming really successful. And it's easier to breed success if you're successful with a smaller group. Then you can promote and recruit and enlist other school districts. But we were afraid to start broad scale. Now we are in a sense because we will be depending on those school districts that are outside of these 6 schools to certify. We're going to be working with counselors, parents to help us find those students who also meet the eligibility criteria. Because if you have matter of fact, when we have the final version of this, we hope to enlist all of you to take them out to your school districts. Because if a school offers physics and the economics course that is required, and you have a senior that already met all these curricular standards, then we could grandfather that student in outside of those 6 main school districts.
I mean, so I assume we're going to be communicating with these schools?
Yes, we're going to do web, yes. We're going to make the application available online. It will not be interactive at this point. And it is a simple application, and all they will have to submit is their transcript. And then we will do the verification.
You talked about these schools have to commit, and what's the time frame within which they're either going to commit or not commit?
We are working with them. Some of them, they've introduced it several months ago, so we hope soon that we'll have some communication with them to finalize it. So if they don't, I would be happy for you to email me a school that you think that would be interested, and then we can put, we'll put them on the list as the backup.
Well, and to that point, I think there's a school in District 9 that'd be interested. I mean, Vanita certainly offers these courses, but I don't know if they've had the opportunity to say whether they're interested or not.
I don't think so.
And they might if one of these other schools drops out.
Yes.
But they won't.
But your students there will be eligible for the program.
So will you report back to us and let us know
Yes.
when these schools are committing
Yes.
or not
Yes.
committing? And if they're not committing, I guess we're going to slot another school in their spot, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the curriculum is a college prep curriculum. I mean, this is like the numbers statistically that if students complete this curriculum, even if it's as low as a 2.5, they will still be highly successful in college, is what the statistics show, that the results are really positive outcomes. And it's just a matter of encouraging them to take the college prep curriculum. Now, even if your school doesn't have physics and some of the other programs, some of the VOTEX and the career techs actually offer that to the students. So there's ways of still, even in a county or community, getting them into that program. Because it's not just the additional Cherokee scholarship money. They also, because the reason we're partnering with Oklahoma Scholars is it opens up their low income additional Pell money automatically that they qualify for, is what I remember. So, I mean, this is a very good way for us to partner and encourage our school systems that support our students to bolster those programs. And when counselors are often dealing with more of like the disciplinary problems rather than encourage our kids to do school stuff, this sets those expectations very clearly. This is the minimum requirements, which is higher than high school requirements for the state of Oklahoma. That this is what you need to do to get to college. So that's what's exciting. But I understood that it was open to at-large, since we're doing the database, that we would, at least the recognition portion with the medal and the...
We're working on it, but I don't think we're going to be able to get the web-based application up that quick. Now, we can get our web design together, but the application process is different for out-of-state people, and because verification of transcripts, number one, if you have any state requirements. So we're working on it, though. We're working toward it.
They wouldn't then be able to get the Oklahoma Scholar agreements because of the geographical base, but the Tulsa and Oklahoma City, the other ones probably could.
Because of the Oklahoma.
But as soon as the web-based application's up, we could immediately
Yes,
start
we're
allowing.
doing all the groundwork to have it that way one day. So we're
Excellent. I really appreciate the hard work you guys put into this. Thank you.
Any other questions? No?
Do not distribute this yet? I didn't put draft on there. I think we left off Daniel's email address on some. I think I see it on here, but if you will look at the requirements for social studies, we are going to take off the credit requirement because by state law, they have to take Oklahoma history and 1 credit of U.S. history and half a credit of government. But the others are options, except that they do need to take economics, so it's 3.5 credits of social studies. And we are, we're going to tweak this a little bit before we pass it out. But we will get you plenty of copies to distribute to your school district, and we'll let you know when it's up on the web, and we will email all of our counselors. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is a resolution honoring and recognizing Sam Bradford as the 2008 Heisman Trophy winner. I think Principal Chief Smith, Yeah, I know where we're going. We'll probably want to present this. However, Mr. Hembry, if he is here, it's been pointed out to me that the sponsorship of any act or resolution must be by someone on the tribal council. So we need to, is that your, yes?
And I would like to sponsor this legislation since it's one of my at-large citizens. And I make a motion that we pass this resolution.
Second. Chief Smith, would you like to? present this motion?
Appreciate the work on it, but I would like an opportunity to perhaps shorten it.
Well, I sent it to you, why didn't you shorten it for now?
She advised me to be nice today. She's not encouraging that behavior very well, is she? That's Monique. I'm glad you introduced it when I had the opportunity. I'd like to share something with you, is that he'll be here visiting Sequoia schools on April 17th. And then that evening, we're going to have a community honoring for him, which we've got to work out. We would like to find something that's really authentic Cherokee, but we would like to invite other tribes to participate too, so that the character of that public honoring is still up in arms, but we up in the air. But I just talked to his dad a while ago to confirm the date and the activity. So it would be nice to have it on for April 17th.
It's joint council. It's joint council on April 17th.
Well, Heisman's Trophy winner does not operate around the calendar. We had 2 dates. One is passed, and that was the other one. And that was the only other date he had before school was out.
Okay. Mr. Hoskins.
I would suggest that every council member might want to co-sponsor this, even those that attended Oklahoma State University might want to. Which I certainly add finding.
Well, would you give me the license to try to reduce it and focus on the leadership aspect, because it's really quite lengthy and it'd be helpful to make it a little bit more concise.
So you want to amend it and present it at rules, perhaps?
Sure. Whatever's convenient.
And about Mr. Hoskins' suggestion, is everybody on the body agreeable that we all sponsor this resolution? Co-sponsor. All right, we'll do that. Thank you. Mr. Baker.
Did I move that we table it until rules?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Okay, we have one other item today also. I think, Mr. Baker, were you going to make this motion as well, about the change in the meeting time?
Yes, actually.
Or shall I?
What do you want to announce?
Yeah, we would like to move this, the regularly scheduled time of this meeting to the Monday of council and committee dates at 3 p.m. As a shift to, a regular permanent shift of this time. I think everybody on this body I've spoken with is agreeable to that. And the speaker has also agreed that the election, the subcommittee on election reform that usually meets at that time can be pushed back an hour to accommodate it. So that will be the motion.
Can I make a motion that we move our meeting time from 1 o'clock on Tuesdays to 3 o'clock on the days of tribal council?
Right. Okay. And we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we will start that in April. Okay, are there announcements? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Who's on adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Fruit riders.
Well,